the most wonderful monument of Grecian magnificence, and one that merits our genuine admiration, is the Temple of Diana at Ephesus, which took 120 years to build, a work in which all Asia joined. A rather tall claim, but knowing ancient historians, it doesn't come as a surprise. But let's give some credence to this claim. The question then becomes, what made the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus so special? The Temple of Artemis may have started its most famous phase in 550 BCE, when the Cretan architect Chersiphron and his son Metagenes built it on orders of the Lydian king Croesus, but its history goes further back. The temple, or at least the sacred spot, is the 7th century BCE, provided by the 3rd century Greek poet Callimachus from Alexandria. The poet attributes the construction of the temple to the Amazons, a warrior race of women from Greek mythology, who established an image beneath an oak trunk. In that case, the association of the temple with Artemis makes sense. The Temple of Artemis was located near the ancient city of Ephesus, which lies less than 100 kilometers south of the Turkish city of Izmir. While the temple itself was erected around 550 BCE, the claims about the site predate that year. Callimachus says that the site that was cut off by ancient Amazons, allegedly, was set off as a place for holy rites and sacred war dances. Another Greek traveller and historian, Pausanias, however, disagreed. He claimed that the place was quite likely inhabited by Leleges, an aboriginal people of the Aegean region, and Lydians, a Turkish ethnic group whom Herodotus claims were the first to use gold and silver coins for currency. Who to believe? To be fair, Pausanias says that the Amazons used the place for ceremonies, but that phase came afterwards. But what about the location where the temple was erected? What about the city of Ephesus? The city of Ephesus is known for its appealing ruins today, especially the famous structure of the Library of Celsus. But back in the day, it was a major center of Mediterranean trade. Located near a port, the city dates back to the 10th century BCE, with, once again, varying origin stories. The Greeks associated it with Amazons, who named the city after their queen, Ephesia, and with Androclos, the last legendary Athenian king, who after hunting a boar at the spot, decided to praise gods by establishing a city at the point. Today, one can visit the site, wander around, and bask in the glory of the glorious ancient hub. But if you stray a little from the city centre, you might just be able to reach the remains of the vaunted temple. Now, if you stray a little further, well, not a little, some 72 kilometers along the coast, you can also come across the site of Apollo's shrine in Didyma. Pausanias maintained that between the two, the sisters' shrine was constructed first. Speculations are fun, but modern archaeologists find that the sacred site of Artemis Temple would have been occupied as early as the Bronze Age, most likely by Greek colonists. A temple was first built here around the second half of the 8th century BCE, so 100 years before the oldest estimate of ancient historians. While not a wonder by any means, it was quite possibly the first Greek temple to be surrounded by columns on all sides. A flood in the 7th century laid waste to this temple, so it was probably partially reconstructed over the next few decades. From the 8th to the 6th century BCE, the site was raised around 6.5 feet to counter the flooding. By the 4th century BCE, it was raised another 8 feet. But its true reconstruction came in the 6th century after the city was overtaken by another force. As the kingdom of Lydia increased in prominence in the 6th century, King Croesus launched a campaign against the Greek city. Royal marriages for diplomatic purposes were undertaken as they allowed the newcomers to integrate with the city. After annexing Ephesus into the Lydian Empire, he sponsored the reconstruction of the temple. Not only did he offer marble columns as a gesture of respect, but he also had a new statue of Artemis constructed to adorn the classical site. However, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. A storm was brewing on the eastern front. The Persian Cyrus the Great had just overthrown his grandfather and assumed the throne. As the conquest between the two sides became heated, the city of Ephesus was conquered by the Achaemenid Empire. It later changed hands by becoming a member of the Delian League and then went to the Spartans after the Peloponnesian War. It would later be reconquered by the Persians, then shift hands a few more times. For most of these ancient eras, the temple remained a site of great importance. Royals, merchants, and tourists arrived from far away to pay homage to Artemis. A palace fit for gods, it was a place where even kings bowed in reverence. But swung the pendulum of time once again, and in the 4th century BCE, the temple was razed down once again. This time, the cause was quite unnatural. A man named Herostratus, who, according to the 1st century Latin author Valerius Maximus, was found to plan the burning of the temple of Ephesian Diana, so that through the destruction of this most beautiful building, his name might be spread through the whole world. As the temple burned on one side of the world, a newborn child cried on another. A Macedonian birth, one that would be cited the world over, happened the same night. The man the world would come to know as Alexander the Great. Plutarch, the Greek historian, would later state that Artemis was so preoccupied with Alexander's birth that she did not even care for her burning temple. While Alexander made an offer to rebuild the temple, the locals denied it for, as Strabo puts it, it was inappropriate for a god to dedicate offerings to gods. Reconstruction started after his death in 323 BCE. The work went on for a few years and over 127 columns were erected. This reconstruction lasted for quite some time. It was revered as a marvelous wonder well into Christian times. The temple housed many artworks, including sculptures from Greek masters like Polykleitos, Phidias, Cressylas, and Phradmon. A lot of these sculptors often competed against one another, each trying to outdo his peers. When St. Paul and his companions made their way through the town, local merchants were worried that the sale of the temple's artifacts would be harmed by their presence. A mob started to form until an official calmed them down. Doesn't all the world know that the city of Ephesus is the guardian of the temple of the great Artemis and of her image? But the arrival of the Goths spelled trouble, and the constant raids meant that it was only a matter of time before the temple would fall. Under the rule of Emperor Gallienus, the temple came down. The immaculate friezes and the impressive columns all tumbled in the face of Goth frenzy. Reports suggest that material from the destroyed temple was taken to other locations and repurposed for use in new civic structures. In the 4th century, a Christian mob further destroyed what little was left of the temple. Over the centuries, the site was abandoned as well. But the temple's legacy was set in stone way before that. Antipater of Sidon, a Greek poet from the 1st and 2nd centuries BCE, had written, "I have set eyes on the wall of lofty Babylon, on which is a road for chariots, and the statue of Zeus by the Alpheus, and the hanging gardens, and the Colossus of the Sun, and the huge labour of the high pyramids, and the vast tomb of Mausolus. But when I saw the house of Artemis that mounted to the clouds, those other marvels lost their brilliancy, and I said, Lo, apart from Olympus, the sun never looked on aught so grand." In the 19th century, a British expedition was able to establish the location of the temple and trace the path to the ruins of the legendary structure. You might also like to find out more about the other 6 wonders of the ancient world. Check out this playlist, and if you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel. That's it for now. We'll see you in the next one.